Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are doing another Magic Talk with Toad, going over value vintage. Say hello, Toad.
It's me, Toad.
Amazing. Uh, so today we are going over two of Toad's brews, Happy Birthday Mars Rover and Houses of the Unholy. Names are changing, names are pending, but Happy Birthday Mars Rover we're probably going to stick with because that's adorable. And they are for value vintage, which was what we've been going over. But to explain it quickly, value vintage is just like vintage, one of Magic's oldest formats. It's every card legal in vintage, but the budget for the deck and sideboard is $30 max. If it's $30.01, I'm sorry, you're not welcome here. Or just
Get out.
Yeah, just get out. Click refresh and go to update the cheapest and see if Moxfield smiles kindly upon you. It probably won't. Right? It might.
No. Moxfield is a harsh mistress, and some people pay extra for that. But paying extra is not what the value vintage community is all about.
Yeah. It's just how it goes. But last week we went over some Edge of Eternity cards we thought would be good for like as a set review, and some of them are in this deck. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Many of them are in this deck. Like, we got 3 or 4 at least.
And a Final Fantasy card too.
Yeah. Final Fantasy card. We got I don't know if we have any Turkier cards. We got some Fallout cards. We got some I don't know, all kinds of commander deck nonsense.
Yeah.
So let's start at the top. So we've got Yorion as a companion. So Yorion makes you have at least 80 cards in your deck if you're playing vintage. And in exchange, you get access to a 4/5 flyer that can come in and blink a bunch of your stuff.
Yep.
So we got some real blink value in this deck that we're going to get to.
So, we want to go over the creatures, sorceries, or instants first?
Let's start with the creatures.
Okay.
So we've got Biomechan Engineers. This is a 2-mana 2/2 green and blue. When it comes in, you make a lander token. Landers are artifact tokens like clues or treasures, and they have 2-tap sacrifice, go find a basic land and put it into play and shuffle. So basically a Wayfarer's Bauble. And then it also has 8 generic mana, draw 2 cards, and make a 2/2 artifact robot creature token. So this is one of our lander guys. This is the worst of the two. This one is a much slower, dirtier win condition than the red-green one. But I really wanted the landers, and I've been testing the deck for a while, and it seems like it's worth a slot. Like, it just does the thing.
Yeah. It's a neat little critter.
Yep, it's also, just Insect Artificer. Insect is a creature type that occasionally can matter. Some previous versions of the deck had Swarm Yard in them to regenerate these guys, but I believe we have taken that out.
Yeah, taken it out.
To just kind of streamline the list. A lot of the luxury lands like Swarm Yard and Fountain Port, when you go to 80 cards, you don't have room for that kind of budget.
Let's hope the budget drops them.
Yep. Biotech Specialist is a 1/3 for red and a green. He also makes a lander token when he comes in. And whenever you sacrifice an artifact, he deals 2 damage to target opponent. This guy is actually the primary win condition of the deck. You are gonna play burn spells. You're gonna make a bunch of treasures and landers and some foods, and then you get your opponent down to like 10 or 12, and then you just sacrifice a bunch of artifact tokens and dome them out.
Yeah. When we were doing test games of this yesterday, it is bizarrely effective.
Yeah. Like, you have uh, 3 clues and a food and a lander and a gilded goose and a biotech specialist. You don't need any extra lands untapped to just do 10 damage or 8 damage or whatever.
Yeah.
You can do it end of turn, instant speed in response to removal. It's very hard to play around if you drop this guy onto a board where you already have untapped treasures. Like, they have to counter him, and if you're late in the game, you can play around a lot of counter magic. You have your own counter magic that you can fight over it with, and then if he gets into play, you just throw all your artifacts at people.
Yep. Get stick bugged.
Yep.
Now, thinking of stick bug, let's go over the next one.
Yep. Depth Shaker Titan, 5 red, artifact creature robot, 5/5. So this guy is a one of because he's a tinker target. So this is a tinker deck. Tinker is restricted, so only have 1 copy, and it's an 80 card deck. So you don't see it early very often, but this deck also looks at a lot of cards. So usually by the mid game, you've had a chance to get Tinker if you want it, and then you've just got 5, 6 Tinker targets in the deck that you can get depending on situation. So what this one does is, when it comes into play, any of your non-creature artifacts become 3/3s until end of turn, and then you sacrifice them at end of turn. And he also has artifact creatures you control have haste, trample, and melee. So he's an artifact creature, so he's going to give himself those abilities. He's also going to give them to all of the tokens, and he's going to give them to any robots you have laying around, which occasionally matters. But what melee is it's a commander precon ability where whenever you attack, your attacking creatures get +1/+1 for each opponent you're attacking, which in Vintage is going to be 1. So you're going to give all of your artifact creatures +1/+1, including the Titan and including the tokens that you animated, and swing in with haste and trample. So this guy comes down. You've got 4 artifact tokens. They all become 4/4s. He's a 6/6. You're doing over 20 damage with trample and haste.
Yeah.
Basically out of nowhere.
That's nutty.
Like, you do need to set up, like, leaving a 6/6 body behind in exchange for all your tokens is okay, but generally you only want to go for this as your tinker target or just hardcast it if you are winning the game. Like, even if your opponent has a removal spell, you want to be able to just kill them.
Yeah.
We've got 4 Gilded Goose. So Goose and the Lander guys are the mana dorks of this deck, sort of. Like, your mana dorks work in a weird way here where they're kind of reliant on tokens and also produce tokens. So the Lander guys just make a token and then you can cash it in even if they die. Whereas with the Goose, you want to keep her in play and just keep making a bunch of eggs, and then you can crack them. Also, notably, something weird that has shown up in testing repeatedly is against the initiative decks, having a Goose in play actually lets you stay alive through the traps because they can't usually get through the dungeon fast enough to burn through all the eggs. So I've actually won matches against the initiative and lost matches against the initiative just based on whether or not I can keep Goose in play.
Interesting. The goose is loose.
Yep. Honk honk. Peace
Honk,
was
honk.
never an option. We've got a Sphinx of the Steel Wind. This is a teamer deck, but it's also a deck that just trivially makes any color of mana. So this is primarily a tinker target, but I have hardcast this in a tournament match. Like, you just make a bunch of treasures and then you play your big artifact guys, and the color doesn't really matter. So this is a flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink, protection from red, protection from green, which means if the opponent's removal is Galvanic Discharge and Lightning Bolt and Heritage Reclamation and stuff, you don't care. They're not doing anything. Um, it has vigilance, so it's racing small creatures very well because you're going to attack, gain 6, block, gain 6. That's 12 points a turn cycle if the opponent is actually trying to race you. It is very difficult to race 12 life gain and 6 damage with any meaningful aggro deck.
Yeah.
So this comes into play. Burn decks and prowess decks are generally dead if they can't immediately burn you out. There's not really a bunch of green aggro decks in this format. There are some. They're mostly delirium based and they have access to black removal, so the Sphinx is not super sticky there. But this is your tinker target if you just want to stabilize against an aggro deck.
So would you call this deck a toolbox deck?
I don't think so because you only really have the one tutor. It's more like you have a lot of big creatures that are all just kind of doing the same big creature stuff. And they're doing it in slightly different ways. So you're going to have access to a big creature, but it might not necessarily be the one that you want.
Got it.
Now, I have considered playing some of the new Artifact Tutor that is an instant from Edge of Eternities, but I haven't put any in the list yet.
Got it.
Next big chonker is we have Threefold Thunderhawk. So this is a 0/0 gnome artifact creature that comes in with 3+1/+1 counters. When it enters or attacks, you create X/1/1 artifact creature gnome tokens, where X is its power, and then you can pay 2 and sacrifice an artifact to put a +1/+1 counter on it. I'm running this over Mere Battlesphere because it is a sacrifice engine for artifacts. So if you have the Biomechan Specialist, this lets you do a lot of damage. And
You mean
in
the
the
biotech specialist?
cases, yeah,
It's biomechan engineer and biotech specialist.
yeah. I don't know, Drew. They're the same guy. They're the same guy wearing a different hat. But if you have the red green guy and you make this guy, you get 3/1/1s, and then if you untap and get to attack, you can sacrifice the 1/1s, deal 6 damage directly to face, attack for 6, make 6 more 1/1s, and then if you have mana, you can sacrifice some of those. So it also is a very fast clock. It's slightly worse against targeted removal than the Battlesphere.
Yeah.
Then we've got 4 Torrential Gearhulk, which is basically your secondary win condition, which is a 5/6 flash for 4 blue, and when it enters, you can cast an instant in your graveyard for free and then remove that instant from the game, so it's exiled. This is just a bunch of value. You get a 5/6 at instant speed, which often means that it gets to block or flashback a counterspell. And then you get an instant. So we've got some instants in the deck, which if you get to cast them for free are a ton of value. We've also just got like some basic stuff, like some 1 and 2 mana burn spells, some 1 and 2 mana counter spells. So you usually have a couple instants in your graveyard when you get this guy, unless you want to tinker for it for some reason. I wouldn't recommend tinkering for it early. That's why we have the Sphinx and the Thunderhawk.
The Sphincter and the Thunderhawk.
Don't call it a sphincter, Drew. Alright, sorceries. We don't have a ton. We've got the one tinker that we've already mentioned to just sacrifice an artifact, pay 3, go find an artifact from the deck and put it into play. We've also got 4 ill-timed explosion. This is our primary sweeper for the deck. So it's 2 blue red sorcery, draw 2 cards. You may discard 2 cards if you do deal damage equal to the discarded card's mana value to each creature. So this deck has a lot of cards that cost 4+ mana So generally, a 4 mana sweeper is cleaning up things that are 4/4 or smaller. So we can do that consistently. We can also scale it up or down from there pretty reliably, all the way up to 8 if we need to. But we are mostly looking to cast this and leave ourselves with a Gearhulk or a Sphinx or a Depth Shaker Titan in
Yeah.
play and clean up all of the opponent's stuff. It also is a draw spell that's filling our graveyard if we need it to. So if we need to get something into the graveyard because we have a Titan that we need to cast and no value, we can do a little bit of board cleanup and put something in the graveyard.
Is there any way to get stuff back from our graveyard?
Besides the Gearhulk, not currently. I have thought about running. So, like I said, I've thought about running the artifact tutor from Edge of Eternities that also gets back an artifact from your graveyard if you have one. We don't have a ton of artifact cards. Like, besides the creatures, we only have Soul Ring and then a couple other ones that are more tinker targets. So we're not going to have artifact cards in the graveyard super frequently. I mostly just want it as a tutor.
Got it.
All right, let's go down to artifacts and skip instance for a second.
Okay.
So we've got some more Edge of Eternities cards. We've got Extinguisher Battleships. This is a 8-mana spacecraft. It has the station ability. So if you're new to station, it basically works the same as crew on vehicles, but instead of tapping it all at once and animating the artifact for a turn, you tap it over the course of however many turns you need to, which can either be all at once or one per turn for 5 turns. And when you've tapped 5 or more total power of creatures, it becomes a creature, and it's a 10/10 flying trample, which is a reasonable body for 8 mana. Like, you're not going to feel like you got cheated out of that. But why we're actually running this and why it's a great tinker target, when it enters the battlefield, you destroy target non-land permanent or target non-creature permanent, which can be a land if your opponent doesn't have any good targets. And then you deal 4 damage to all creatures. So this is another sweeper. This is our secondary sweeper, and it is a threat. So this kind of is doing all kinds of stuff. If you need to clean up enchantments or artifacts, which we don't have main deck answers for right now, this is our option. We can tutor for it with Tinker. And we can also blink it with Yorion. So like I said, we do a lot of blinking with Yorion. Most of our creatures and some of our artifacts are blink targets. We have 1 copy of Mirari. So most of the time you want to tinker for a big creature. Mirari is here for when we know the opponent is going to kill any creature we get. We can get a Mirari, and then we're on the instance plan, pretty much. So Mirari is a 5-mana artifact, so it's also just castable. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can pay 3 generic mana and copy it, and you can choose new targets. So when we're talking about stuff like Bottle Cap Blast, which is 5 damage to any target, or Magma Opus, which is 4 damage to any target, make a 4/4, then getting an extra copy is a ton of value. And you might think that you're never going to have mana to copy a Magma Opus, but I've actually had matches with this deck where you get to 10 or 12 mana. Like, once you start blinking Lander Makers, or when you have resolved a Bottle Cap Blast on a 1/1 or something and make 4 treasures, then you have a ton of mana, and you can just go way over the top of most decks.
Okay.
And then we've got good old Soul Ring. So we're a big mana ramp deck. We want Soul Ring. Can only run 1, so we have exactly 1. And that's the artifact section. Let's go and do the instance section.
Okay. So instance, starting off, we have Bottle Cap Blast, Lightning Bolt, and the Magma Opus, which you mentioned, and keep going.
Let's just do Lightning Bolt, Mana Leak, and Spell Pierce are just generically good cards. We don't have to talk about those a bunch. Bottle Cap Blast has Improvise, so if we have artifact tokens like landers or foods or treasures, you can tap them and they pay for a colorless for the Bottle Cap Blast. It deals 5 damage to any target, and if you dealt extra damage, then you get that many treasures. So a lot of the time I have been using this to kill like Avacyn's Pilgrim or Ginger Brute or ignoble hierarchs, 1 toughness creatures, which means you get a 1-for-1 trade on cards and 4 tapped treasures.
Wow.
And it also goes all the way up to 5. So there's not a lot of creatures in this format bigger than 5. So Bottle Cap Blast is going to kill almost everything, and it will usually give you some treasures that you can use later. We've got Magma Opus. So Magma Opus is 6 colorless, a blue and a red. Deal 4 damage to any target, tap 2 permanents, draw 2 cards, make a 4/4 elemental token. This is your number 1 target for Torrential Gearhulk, not only because the effect of the spell is so big, but also because you can pay 2 blue-red hybrid mana and discard it to make a treasure. So it puts itself in the graveyard, and it also gives you a treasure to cast the Gearhulk. So a lot of the time with this deck, you are casting a Magma Opus off a Gearhulk on turn 4.
Wow.
So that's going to put a 4/4 and a 5/6 into play at instant speed, kill your opponent's best creature, tap 2 of their lands on their turn, so when you go to your turn, they're tapped and they can't mess with you. Draw 2 cards, so you're basically replacing the Magma Opus and the Gearhulk. And then you just have a huge board, and you've disrupted your opponent, and you've drawn cards. Like, everything you want to do, it's doing. So we've got the Mana Leak and the Spell Pierce just to get the basic amount of counters. More counters is always better, but when the deck is also burn heavy, it's hard to find a ton of room for counters, so we just have the basic 8. We're running Mana Leak over Lose Focus because we don't often have double blue early in the game, so the pay 3 versus pay 2 is actually better, and Mana Leak is also better off of a Gearhulk.
Yeah.
Mystic Confluence is 3 blue. Choose 1 or more, or choose 3. You can choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell. This is controller pays 3. So this is a little bit more counter magic, but it is a 5-drop, so it's not reliable to stop the fast combo decks. Draw a card or return target creature to its owner's hand. So this can turn a strong attack from your opponent into them losing 2 creatures into your board and putting the rest in their hand. It can just straight up draw you 3 cards. It can pretty much guaranteed counter a spell. Nobody is usually going to have 9 mana unless they've resolved a channel or something. And so the worst this is going to be is usually bounce 3 things. Generally what you're doing is like counter a spell, draw 2 cards, bounce 2 permanents, draw a card. It's versatile, but it is clunky, so we only are running 2, and we probably could go down to 1 because we do have the instant tutor that we'll see later if we want to find one of these. We have Sudden Shock. So Sudden Shock is 1 and a red, instant, deal 2 damage to any target, split second. Split second means that players can only activate mana abilities. They can't cast spells in response, and they can't activate non-mana abilities in response. Sacking a treasure is a mana ability. Sacking a food to Gilded Goose is a mana ability, I'm pretty sure.
I think so, too.
So if you have 3 treasures and a food and a Gilded Goose, and your opponent is at 10 life, and you Sudden Shock them, with the red green biomechan guy or bio specialist in play, you're doing 10 damage. They can't respond. So if they have life gain available, doesn't matter. If they have a counter spell for the sudden shock, doesn't matter. If they have stifle, like nimble obstructionist for any of the stuff, doesn't matter. They can't do anything. So this is our backup burn spell for the early game in addition to lightning bolt. It's worse than something like galvanic discharge, but the split second that can come up as a finisher makes it pretty good. It's also very strong against like merfolk and fairies and spirits because their creatures are small. They have a lot of counter magic to protect them. You can just point at one and be like, that one takes 2 damage. Finally, an instance, and also kind of in land, we have Waterlogged Teachings, which is 3 in a blue or black hybrid. Instant, go find an instant card or a card with flash, which is Torrential Gearhulk, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle. So I play this as a land about half the time, and I play it as a tutor about half the time. We have a bunch of instants in the deck, more than anything else, and then we also have the Gearhulks, which are flash. You can find a Gearhulk, cast it, flashback the teachings, go find a Magma Opus or a Confluence or a Bottlecat Blast. We also have some strong instants in the sideboard that we want to be able to tutor for.
Sorry, I distracted by something. Yeah, this whole list seems kind of janky as hell, but just in the few practice games I played with an older version, and like looking at it more intensely, like there's a lot of something here.
This deck is a pile of nonsense and also somehow a functional deck. Like, I will admit to everyone that this deck looks weird, does not look like it should work, has a bunch of weird cards in it, but all of the cards are in here doing a job, and they do it. Alright, let's look at the lands.
Yes.
So, at the lands we have. Previous versions of the deck had a bunch of utility lands, and this one has trimmed down to 2 Lumbering Falls as hexproof creature lands, and a Mines of Moria to exile some graveyard stuff and make treasures. We don't believe we have a legendary besides Yorion.
We do not.
We do not. So Yorion is your legendary, but it's also generally fine to have one land that comes in tapped, and we've only got 3 total out of 25, not counting Copperline Gorge, because when you need it to be untapped, it's untapped.
Yeah.
We've got Bountiful Landscape, which will color fix. We've got Spire of Industries, which will color fix. 2 Gemstone Mine. I think you can only get away with 2. And then we've got Basics and Copperline Gorges. And I need to step out for 1 minute before we get to the sideboard.
No problem. My headphones just disconnected and I reconnected. Alright. Yeah, this has been a really interesting list. And for those watching who've gotten this far, we tried recording and going over a prior version of this list last night, because we're filming it on 8/11/25 Monday. We tried filming it on Sunday, but it bugged out and OBS crashed. But it seems to be working today, which is pretty rad. And yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've stuck through us this long. While Toad was talking, I'm working on the thumbnail, which I think will be very funny, and I thought of something quite humorous, where if you're watching this now, you'd have already seen it. But for those listening and not paying attention to the thumbnail, it's the Mars rover with one of the insect bugaboos, and there are cosmic brownies flying around. So it's happy birthday, Mars Rover. So yeah, that's what I got distracted by, making the thumbnail. Which I love making the thumbnails. It's one of my favorite part of these videos. I know they're not like high art, but it's fun. And that's kind of the whole spirit of these whole videos. It's like, we're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for attention. There are probably better ways to do it anyway. But we do have a lot of fun with it, so that's what matters. So yeah, that's all to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Toad is back.
Hello, Toad. I was
Right,
telling the audience I'm working on the thumbnail because I thought of a very funny thing for the thumbnail.
Yeah, what is the funny thing?
You'll see it when I'm done.
It's a secret? Okay. So let's go ahead, and we covered the mana base. It's pretty simple. Like, the hexproof on Lumbering Falls is really good because you mostly want it against control matchups. And then the mines. This deck loves treasures. Like, if there were other really good treasure makers, like the only ones that I've really seen and thought about is Prosperous Innkeeper, but we're not really making a bunch of tokens that are creatures, so I haven't included that. But this deck wants every treasure it can make. But yeah, let's talk about the sideboard.
Okay, so looking at the sideboard.
Obviously we've got Yorion. That's our companion. We've got 3 Krosan Grip, so that's our naturalized disenchant type effect. And it also does the split second thing that we mentioned with Sudden Shock. If you need the split second and your opponent doesn't have an artifact, you can always target your own artifact token, and you can still sack the treasure even if it's targeted by Krosan Grip and do the thing. Because the Krosan Grip won't get countered on resolution until it actually is on resolution. So as long as it's on the stack, it doesn't care if its target is still in play or not. We've got 3 Test of Talents. These are about 75% for the combo matchups, but you can bring them in for control. You could also probably bring them in against the burn decks. Just like if you take their Fire Blast with Test of Talents, that's pretty major.
Yeah.
Just be aware you're not cutting too much of the actual important cards. We've got 3 Soul Guide Lanterns. So I have gone back and forth on Soul Guide Lantern versus Ravenous Trap, and it's actually possible that I should have like one of each, because we have artifact target tutors with Tinker, and we have an instant target tutors with the Waterlogged Teachings. So we kind of have the Soul Guide Lanterns for Tinker, and then surgical extractions for the Waterlogged Teachings. The surgicals are just any deck that is specifically relying on one card, you can surgical them. You can Waterlog Teachings for surgical, and you don't need any extra mana to cast it. We were on Extirpate because, again, the split second trick, but surgical is actually cheaper than Extirpate now by about 20 cents. So we're saving money for the budget. And the 2 life is more doable than the black mana. This deck doesn't struggle with black mana, even though it's a teamer deck, because of all of the treasures and the 5 color lands that we have. But 0 mana is less than 1 mana.
Yeah.
It's just how the math works. And then last in the sideboard, the secret tech that everyone will know about now if they watch the video. We have 3 Break the Ice in our deck.
What a weird choice.
So this deck, even though it has 80 cards, the trench posts and 8 posts are very hard to deal with. So instead of running like a bunch of land destruction or anything, like just actual stone rains or trying to fit boom bust in here, I'm just going to run Break the Ice. Now, we do have some colorless lands. We have the Bountiful Landscapes, which sacrifice themselves, so you should be fine. And we have the Spire of Industries, which if you overload it, you're going to lose your Spire of Industries. But I think one land of ours for almost every land of theirs is a fair trade. There's also Eldrazi decks that we need to worry about. Painlands now with the reprinted decks for Commander have gotten down to like 30 or 40 cents. There are a lot of decks where half of their mana base is Painlands. So if they're like a slower deck that is using Painlands to fix, maybe you can board and Break the Ice and just take them off of half their mana base in the mid game, which lets you set up to just win a couple turns later. So primarily these are for 8 post. Don't just bring them in every time you see a target, because that's not what they're for. A lot of decks can lose 1 land and not care, or in the mid game they can lose 2 or 3 lands and not care. You really want this to be taking out most of their lands, if not all, and it has to be a deck that cares about having lands in play. But the post matchup for this deck is quite bad. So we're devoting 3 slots to it. 2 might be fine. If this was an instant that we could tutor for, I'd probably only have 1 of them. But in an 80 card deck, you kind of need extra sideboard slots if you want to be able to see the cards. So instead of running 2 Test of Talents, 1 Surgical, 1 Crows and Grip, 2 Break the Ice, we've kind of had to fill the sideboard up with those and run less of other stuff. Like, we don't have any extra sweepers in here in the sideboard. We don't have any extra counter magic for things like creatures or enchantments in the sideboard. And we just have to deal with that. The reason that the list only really has 4 mana leaks to counter creatures is because we have a bunch of burn. We have like 20 ways to burn creatures in the deck. And we're just going to try and remove them and race them. And like I said with the Gilded Goose, against the initiative, if you can keep the actual initiative creatures from hitting you, you can outrace the traps. Dro?
Yes.
Are you there, Dro?
Yeah, sorry, I'm listening.
No, we're good. It's time to look at some hands.
All right. But yeah, the surgical and the I Break the Ice seem interesting though. I am a little bit worried about the black mana because
surgical doesn't need any. You can play surgical without any mana cost, no problem. Like I said, I have cast the Sphinx of the Steel Wind with this deck. It's just doable. Like, you make a treasure and you have a Spire of Industry, that's double black. It's possible that if the post matchup is like something we're expecting to face every tournament, that we would also add a swamp to the deck. Maybe in the sideboard, maybe in the main, or fit in another Gemstone Caverns. But so far, this has been working to hit either double black or black and white when you need them.
Got it. Alright, yeah. Let's look at some hands. So this seems pretty good.
This
slow, but good.
This is interesting because it's all ramp, no interaction. But it might be okay. This is like a medium 7. Like, if you don't know what you're playing against, this is pretty rough because you're going to lose to the combo decks. You're okay against aggro decks. And you're okay against control decks because you have Lumbering Falls, you have 2 of your mana guys, and if you can resolve Mirari, like this is this a turn 4 Mirari? Yeah, this is a turn 4 Mirari. If that resolves and the opponent doesn't counter it, over the course of a long game, it's going to generate a bunch of value. If they do counter it, then okay, they countered your 5-drop. That's what happens to most 5-drops. You do have to draw out of this hand. Like, go ahead and draw a couple cards and let's see where this would go.
Yeah, no problem. Let me do a brief little thing here. Sorry, this thumbnail, I'm pretty hyped about it. So, we draw another biotech specialist.
That's not bad. Let's draw.
Copperline Gorge.
Okay, another land. At this point, I don't think we want more lands, but 1 is not a ruiner.
Yeah, and let's draw again. Lightning bolt? Not there.
Yep, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for burn spells, counter spells, primarily with this hand.
Yeah.
Just so that we can stall the game out and get more draw steps to draw into our big action. Probably with Lightning Bolt, we would have Mirari in play, so this is actually 2 Lightning Bolts if we need to kill a bigger creature, or 2 smaller ones like a White Plume and a Stax creature. We could do that with Lightning Bolt. So this is not a terrible hand. This is not a good hand. Like, I would not be super happy with this, but it's definitely a hand that could pull through some games.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and deal us another one, and we'll see what we got.
Yeah, no problem. Let me do this quickly. Sorry, the Adderall's kicked in, and I gotta do this or else it'll drive me upset.
Womp womp, got that OCDs.
Okay. Deal another hand.
So this is not a keeper.
No.
Spire of Industry is only a colored source if you have an artifact, which generally is fine. Like, if this mountain were a forest, this hand is awesome. But it's not, so this is a mulligan.
Okay.
So let's draw a mulligan and we'll see what we would put back. This hand is totally fine. We would put back a biomechan engineer. We have the same problem with this hand where Spire of Industry is not a colored source yet, but we have a dual land instead of a mountain, which means if we hit another colored source, we're casting some of these lander makers, like either the blue ones or the red one. We're going to cast it. We've got a lightning bolt that we can hold up on turn 1. We've got a bottle cap blast that's going to come out hopefully around 3 or 4. Let's draw a couple cards and see how this would pan out.
We draw.
There's our blue source. We're good to go.
Okay. And do 1 or 2 more hands and we switch to the next deck?
Draw 1 more card, so let's see if we hit anything. Yes. This hand is rocketing off. This is top 10% of hands that you can get in this deck if you know that the Bountiful Landscape is coming.
Yeah.
All right, deal us another one. No lands, no keeps. This is a keep. This is 3 Tinker targets.
Yeah.
I think I keep this, but I put the Sphinx back. It's better than going to 5 because we have 1-drop or 2-drop depending on what we need, but it's not great. Again, draw a card and let's see what we get. Looking for a counter spell or another burn spell mostly.
Yummy. We draw a ill-timed explosion.
That's okay if we draw another land on the next draw.
We don't.
Nope, I think this is a loser. We're losing with this hand.
Okay. Let's deal.
Just too much chunky on the top end, and then we just drew more top end.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do 1 more, and then we'll jump over to the other deck.
Yeah. Go to deal another hand. No.
Well, huh. I think this does have to be a mulligan. We've got 18 points of burn in our hand.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but also pretty bad.
Like, depending on matchup, I think blind, this is 100% a mulligan. If you know what you're playing against and you really want to burn them out, this could get there because you've got landscape, sack for a blue, copperline gorge. You have all your colors on turn 2. Spire of Industry, tapping for colorless, which is going to help with the bottle cap blasts. Go ahead and draw a couple of cards. I want to just see where this goes.
Yeah, me. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Let me. I'll just draw a card. It's battleship.
Nope, that's bad. That's a blank.
Yep.
I think if you are on the burn face, no matter what plan against a control deck, these draws are actually okay. Draw a couple more. We need to hit that fifth source for the bottle cap blast at some point.
Gear Hulk, Copperline.
That's the fifth source. So like we've drawn 5. So this is 5 lands in play on turn 5. One of them would be tapped, though, so we wouldn't be blasting until the next turn. See if we draw another blue source for the next turn to Gear Hulk or Confluence.
Yeah. So let's draw a Gilligoose.
That turns the Spire into a blue source, yeah. This hand, blind, loses a lot of matchups. But it does have 23 points of burn straight to face if we need to.
Sure, why not?
All right, so let's go ahead and go to the other deck.
Oh, let me do this quickly. I swear this is worth it. It's so good.
I mean, the people watching will already have seen the thumbnail. So it's only a secret to me.
Cool. There we go. I got it. It's it's beautiful. I love it. This is so good. I'm very proud of myself.
You're killing me. All right.
All right, check out the next deck.
All right, so we've got Houses of the Unholy. I kind of want to call this deck Your Mother Busts Rocks in Hell, but people might not be happy about that. So we went with the Led Zeppelin reference for now. All right, so what this is a Mardu boom bust list, which is winning primarily with demons. So it sounds weird. Again, this is a deck that just somehow functions. So our primary creature is Imskir Iron Eater, which is a legendary demon for 6 black red. He's a 5/5. He has affinity for artifacts, so he costs 1 less for each artifact you control. When he enters, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is half the number of artifacts you control rounded down. And then he has 3 in a red, sacrifice an artifact, deal damage equal to its mana value to any target.
Yeah.
So most of the artifacts we have are lands, which they don't have any mana value, so you're not doing that. We have some 1s and 2s, which you can throw to knock off little stacks guys if you need to. We've also got these Frogmere Enforcers, which can be a 4 or a 7, depending on how you play them.
Yeah.
So with Imskier, for the draw ability, you want to try and have 4 artifacts or 6 artifacts so that you're drawing 2 or 3 cards. More than that, and the life loss becomes really punishing. 1 card, and like, yeah, you're replacing the card, but you're not really getting much. Like, you're paying 5 for a 5/5 and drawing 1 card, which is kind of underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be drawing 2. Which is not difficult because, again, most of our lands, or at least half of our lands, are also artifacts. The Frogmere Enforcers are just a 7 mana 4/4 with affinity for artifacts, or you can prototype it for 3 and a red affinity for artifacts, which makes it a 2/2 with mana value 4 that's red. So this guy fits into your curve multiple places, and then if you play him as the big version, you can just throw 2 of these at your opponent and they take 14 damage.
Wow.
So that's some damage. Then we've got Herald of Anguish, which is another demon flying 5/5 for 5 black. This has Improvise. So instead of Affinity, you have Improvise, which means you're tapping your artifacts to help pay for the colorless cost in his mana value. And then it has, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card. So generally, you're going to get a card out of this guy because either they're countering it, they're spending a removal spell on it at instant speed, or they're discarding one. And if they don't have a counter spell or removal spell at instant speed, you're going to get 2 cards because you're getting whatever that removal spell was on their turn, plus a card from their hand. And if they don't have a removal spell, then this guy just goes ham on them because he's a 5/5 flyer, and they're going to discard like 2 or 3 cards by the time it's beating them down. It also has 1 and a black, sacrifice an artifact. Target creature gets -2/-2. So just like Imskier, this guy's really good at cleaning up small creatures, which lets you save your targeted removal for the bigger threats, or even their lands with some of it. As far as sorceries go, we've got Boom Bust, which is 1 in a red, destroy target land you control and target land you don't control. A lot of our lands are indestructible, so we can target those, no problem. We can also target Shattered Landscape and then sack it in response, and as long as the opponent still has their land in play, it'll resolve. And then it also has a bigger side for 6 mana, which just destroys all lands. So again, some of our lands are indestructible, most of the opponents probably not, so this is just going to take them out. We've got Cleansing Wildfire, so we've got the good old popper tech of Wildfire, our indestructible land, which goes and finds a basic land and draws a card. If you need to, you can use it on your opponent's land, like if they have a Gond Gate or a Cloud Post, and they can go find a basic, but they lose their special land, and then you still get to draw the card.
Get wrecked, Cloud Post.
If anybody can't tell, I hate losing to Cloud Post or Tron in basically every format.
Didn't we do a Cloud Post episode?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we've got 4 Vindicate. So Vindicate is 1, a white, and a black. Sorcery, destroy target permanent.
So help me God, I'll kill every Cloud Post I see.
I will kill every Cloud Post I see. I will blow up your Gond Gate. I'll blow up your Basilisk Gate. I'll blow up your Dark Depths. We're not doing any of that here. This is Demon Ponza. We are blowing up so many lands. This is also main deck artifact, enchantment, planeswalker removal. So if the opponent is doing some kind of nonsense, you've at least got Vindicate for it.
Born to Die, world is a fuck, kill them all.
Yeah.
A bajillion dead.
Dead permanents. Yeah. Instants, we've only got 2. We've got 2 Swords to Plowshares. You could argue for 3. You could argue for 4. I've found that 2 is adequate against all but the most aggressive decks, and we do have some more sideboard for those. We also have removal that is not instant speed, so it's not like our only removal is 2 Swords to Plowshares. We've got the 4 Vindicates, and then we've also got some artifacts. Main deck, 3 Soul Guide Lanterns. We need artifacts that we can make our demons cheaper with. This one is potentially a cantrip if we don't care about the graveyard. And if the opponent is doing like oops all spells, having a turn 1 Soul Guide Lantern just randomly out of the opening hand makes them very unhappy.
Yeah.
2 copies of Tithing Blade. This is an artifact for 1 and a black where each opponent sacrifices a creature when it comes into play. And you can craft it with another artifact either on the battlefield or in your graveyard. And it turns into a artifact where at the beginning of, I believe, your upkeep, but it might be end step, it drains each opponent for 1 life. So not a huge clock, considering that we're mostly dealing damage in like chunks of 4 or 5 or 7. But if you are like in a really close game and it's kind of dragging on and you've got the opponent down to 4 life and they've killed all your creatures, sometimes Tithing Blade just gets there. But mostly we are looking for that immediate value of making them sacrifice a creature. This gets around stuff like hexproof, it gets around protection. So if the opponent is playing like Oath of Druids and they Iona, you have white removal and black removal, so you have an out no matter what they name, which has actually come up a couple times in testing. There's also hexproof creatures around that you want to have edicts for. I see people talking about playing boggles. I've never actually been boggled in this format, but it doesn't hurt to have a couple edicts in the deck.
Yeah.
Ratchet Bomb. Ratchet Bomb is actually our main deck sweeper. So we're not running Shatter the Sky or anything like that. We're running Ratchet Bomb because it cleans up artifacts and enchantments. You're probably not getting a Planeswalker with Ratchet Bomb because most Planeswalkers cost 3+ mana. But you can reasonably hit a Cranial Plating or a couple of Springleaf Drums and Ginger Brutes or a bunch of creature tokens. And again, it's an artifact. We want to have artifacts in play early on. So this is giving us affinity, giving us card draw with Imskir, feeding the Herald of Anguish, doing its job.
Yeah.
Soul Ring, this deck absolutely wants Soul Ring. Like, we're trying to cast a 6 mana sorcery. We're trying to cast 7 or 8 mana demons with some help from our artifacts. This deck loves Soul Ring.
Then Disruptor Flute.
We have 3 main deck Disruptor Flutes. And this card makes people real salty. The main deck Disruptor Flutes. This is a 2 mana artifact with flash. When it enters, you choose a card name. Spells with the chosen name cost 3 more to cast. And activated abilities of the chosen card can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So I said you're probably not going to stop a Planeswalker with Ratchet Bomb. You do have Disruptor Flutes and Vindicates. So if people are running like Thopter Sword as their control win condition, this will shut it down. Again, Cranial Plating, Affinity is part of the metagame. This will shut down Cranial Plating. Elixir of Immortality is actually something that I've run into in lists recently in actual tournaments. And then if you know what's in your opponent's hand, like we're not running like Duress or Inquisition main deck or anything like that, but if your opponent has revealed a card to you, like maybe they tutored for something or it was visible on top of their library for some reason, you can preemptively Disruptor Flute it, and it's going to take a long time for them to get 3 extra mana to cast it. So that's the spells. We've got a couple of enchantments that I'm excited to get to. Are you scrolling down, Drew?
Wait a minute. Sorry. This is actually in relation to something I'll explain once the video's done. I did see give me the thumbnail.
Yep. Okay, cool. I'll look at that in a bit. So if you've seen our Professor Onyx Chains of Acid Boom Bust deck, it was running Unholy Annex as a draw and win condition. This deck maximizes it because not only do we have the 3 Unholy Annexes, we've also got 6 more demons. So we are actually gonna... They're demons, Drew.
Yeah.
So this deck actually has a good shot of having a demon in play before it gets to 5 mana. Because you can have 4 artifact lands and just cast Imskir and draw 2 cards and turn on the annex, or you can have 4 lands and 3 artifacts and cast the Herald of Anguish. So not only are the demons big threatening creatures that have built-in card advantage and board clear, they're also enabling the better mode on our draw spell.
So, question: do you ever use Imskir's ability to fling a Frogmere Enforcer?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh, okay.
That's why the Frogmeres are in the deck.
Fling in 2025 value vintage. Let's go.
Yeah, we're flinging Frogmeres. I have had, like, if the opponent is at 9 life and you have a Frogmere and a Ratchet Bomb, they're dead. Like, end of turn, you throw the Ratchet Bomb, untap. Even if you can't get through in combat, you fling the Frogmere, they're dead.
Whoa, Frog be upon ye.
Yeah, if you have Imskir and a Frogmere, that's 9 power attacking, plus 7, that's 16 damage by itself.
Jesus.
So if you can put chip damage on the opponent early with like a 2/2 Frogmere, or just getting in 1 hit with a Herald of Anguish before they kill it, they're very suddenly in death range whenever Imskir shows up.
Wow. This deck seems a little bit less janky than Happy Birthday Mars Rover, but like, it's still janky.
This deck is more focused than the Mars Rover deck because it's not running a bunch of single 1 or 2 of copies, pretty much. Everything is 2 or 3 ofs, mostly, or even 4 ofs, and it's only a 60 card list instead of an 80 card list.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a little bit janky, but the thing is, the Boom Bust Wildfire Artifact Land engine lets you kind of get away with a little bit more flex in your other cards. They don't have to be working as hard because the opponent is going to take longer to win, which means we can play things that require a little bit more setup and give us a bigger payoff.
Interesting.
So instead of trying to win with like 3 or 4 mana creatures or a 3 mana planeswalker in our control deck, we can get these 4 or 5 drop demons that rely on artifacts to a degree.
That's really neat. And then let's look at the lands. Pretty bog standard.
Yeah, we've got 10 indestructible artifact lands. It's hard to run more because you do need lands that come into play untapped. You want to play a turn 1 artifact indestructible land and then a turn 2 untapped land so that you can boom bust on turn 2. So we've got some basic, 2 of each basic to find with Bountiful Landscape and Cleansing Wildfire. We've got 2 landscapes, which you can either play or cycle. And then we've got some Spire of Industries. This deck has artifacts much more consistently for Spire than the Mars Rover deck does. Because you have a lot of colorless 1 and 2 mana artifacts. You're not relying on making tokens as much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's nothing fancy going on in this mana base. It's all tapping for mana. There's no utility lands, except we're getting the added utility from like Affinity and having Indestructible on our lands and stuff. Yeah. As far as the sideboard, we've got 3 Duress, so combo and control matchups. Duress them, take their Spell Pierce, boom bust them, take them off of one of their 2 lands. You're in a good spot. You can also take away the combo pieces from the combo decks, like Duress always is good for. We've got the last Soul Guide Lantern. We've got the last Disruptor Flute. We've got another Tithing Blade. So we're just padding the deck in the matchups where those are good. We've got 2 Revoke Existence. So we don't want to go super hard on artifact and enchantment removal because we do have the Vindicates and we do have the Ratchet Bombs. But it's totally fine to have a couple slots in the sideboard to deal with stuff like Rest in Peace Energy Field or Affinity.
What's that annoying enchantment that makes all artifacts cost 2 more?
Energy Flux, yeah.
Energy Flux.
You really would want to have an instant speed answer for that, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
We've got 2 Damping Sphere. Because I refuse to lose to Cloud Post. No, this is actually in here for the combo decks. We're not super worried about Cloud Post with our main deck. This is for decks that are aiming to like cascade a bunch of spells or cast 4 spells on a turn, like High Tide setting up. This is just to buy us time to get to that 6 mana version of Boom Bust, the big bust.
Yeah. The big nut.
4 Slaughter Games. So if the opponent really, really, really needs to resolve a card to win, we're going to try and make it so that they don't have that card in their deck or their hand or their graveyard. It's just gone. We've got 4 of them so that we can find it early. We always want to be casting this on turn 4. Even faster, possibly with a Soul Ring, but we don't have enough untapped lands to reliably do this on turn 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, against High Tide, you take their High Tides, you take their Sapphire Medallions after you've taken High Tide, you take Cloud of Fairies after you've taken those 2. And the longer the game goes, the more Slaughter Games you draw, and the more Slaughter Games you draw, the longer it takes them to kill you. So they kind of reinforce themselves, which is why you really want to have 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then we've got 1 Teriziar's Devastation, which is X, 2 colorless, 2 black for a sorcery. You lose X life and create X tapped Power Stone tokens. Then all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn for each artifact you control. A lot of the time with this card, X is going to be 0. You don't need any Power Stones. You've already got 4 or 5 artifacts in play to clean up. But if you have a bunch of life, like let's say you have stabilized against the aggro deck and you're at 16 life somehow, go ahead and make a couple Power Stones, and you can use them for Improvise, you can use them for Affinity, you can use them to cast your artifacts.
Yeah. I've been thinking about running that for a commander deck. I just don't have a good deck for it.
I have a copy from playing it in Commander with my Necrons deck, and I think it fits in this deck on the sideboard. It might also fit in the main deck. Like, this is a card that you could easily main deck 1 of, trim a Ratchet Bomb, play a Devastation.
Yeah. That's cool. You want to get over some hands and then call it
Let's look at a couple hands. This is close. I think blind game 1, I keep this, but it might be too slow for something like High Tide or Rhinos.
Yeah.
Let's draw a card and see if our first draw is an untapped land. Okay, it's not. And then let's see if our next draw is an untapped land. Nope. Not. So this is pretty rough. We're gonna boom twice. So this is not like an auto loss. We're gonna swords, boom, boom, play a Ratchet Bomb. Then we're pretty close to Emskier, but this is a rough development for this hand.
I give this 2 booms.
2 booms way up, yeah. All right, let's deal another one.
Am I hip with the Zoomers?
I don't know. Are you?
No, I don't
Mulligan.
know.
This deck has to have 2 lands. 5. This is actually a keep.
All right.
We have Bust on turn 2, so we're going to play turn 1 Bridge, turn 2 Spire or Plains, boom them. turn 3, play another untapped land, Unholy Annex. So draw a couple cards and see where we get with this. We're looking for a demon. Wildfire's good. That's going to draw us another card. Tithing Blade is removal. And then at this point, we're probably unlocking the Ritual Chamber. We've got 2 black sources with Aspire. So we've destroyed a land. We've gotten rid of a creature. We've maybe destroyed a second land if they're on Gates or Post or another deck that cares about specific lands. And then we can draw another one. Because this is going to draw. Yeah, we've got a creature we can play either as a 2/2 or a 4/4, depending on how much mana we want to spend. So this hand is totally fine. We're setting up pressure. We're drawing cards. We're blowing up lands. We're removing creatures. All the stuff the deck wants to do.
Yeah. All right.
This is about as good as you can expect for a 5 mana opener.
Let's do another few hands, and we'll call it a night.
Yep.
That's not bad.
This totally fine. So we're going to play untapped lands on the first 3 turns. We're going to have a Ratchet Bomb on 2, a Tithing Blade on 3, and then a Frog Mirror probably as a 2/2 on 4.
Yeah.
Draw a couple, see if we draw a Bust or a Vindicate or anything.
Plains, Goldmire Bridge, Chamber.
That's okay. This is not a strong hand development, but it also doesn't auto lose to like the aggro or mid-range decks.
Yeah.
And if the control deck doesn't have a counter spell for the Ritual Chamber and Holy Annex, it can run away with things.
Okay. Let's do one more hand or 2 more hands.
Yep. Let's do 2. We have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
This is pretty good. We don't have the Boom, but we do have the Vindicate. So we're going to take out a land. So we're going to play Bridge, Land, Bomb, Vindicate, and then let's see what we would draw.
Wildfire.
Okay, so we're ramping a little bit.
Ratchet Bomb.
Ratchet Bomb. So this hand does get us to the demons pretty quickly. I was hoping we would draw another artifact land, but we did not.
Yeah. Let's draw one
so
more.
This hand would... that's a little late. You want to have it on turn 2 or 3, and we had the Vindicate on 3. If the opponent kept a light hand, I've had this happen with Spirits players where they're running like 17, 18 lands, and they just keep a 1 or 2 of land. And we resolve a land destruction spell, that can really knock them out for a couple turns, which would let us use the Ratchet Bombs. So again, this is not great, but it doesn't auto lose. That's kind of where the deck is at. If you don't have turn 2 Boom Bust, then you're probably not like resoundingly crushing everyone. You also don't get run over by creature decks super hard. And you can mess with people's mana a little bit, even without the Boom Bust, if you need to.
Let's do one more hand.
So, yeah, this is turn 1 artifact land, unless we need to swords. Turn 2, swords or Ratchet Bomb. And then we're just hoping to draw a land by turn 3. So let's
land.
Yeah, okay. Yep. So this hand casts all of its spells with only 8 cards. So let's go to turn 3. So let's draw 2 more and see how we would have access to things. Yeah, we've got a Flute. We've got a 4th land. This hand is casting Imskeer, no problem. It's casting Vindicate, no problem.
Yeah.
And we've got Disruption. So destroy or exile a creature, destroy any permanent, stop any activated abilities, and then we're going to have the Annex online, and we're just going to be attacking the opponent for 5, draining them for 2, drawing a card every turn.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So this is the kind of hand that you're looking for. It doesn't have Boom Bust, but it does have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Alright, well that was pretty cool. That's been some pretty cool lists. They'll both be in the description below, though they might be tinkered with depending upon when you're watching this.
The boom bust list has already got.
You cut out there for a minute.
The boom bust list has already gotten second place at an F&M level event, so it's got some chops for sure. And then I haven't played the Yorion version of the Mars Rover deck in an actual tournament, but as soon as my cards show up from eBay, I will.
Interesting. And probably, so the next episode we're doing is how to get into Value Vintage for those watching. And we'll have a special guest who's been supporting the channel for a good while. And the one after that...
Nepotism.
He's not my son.
Taking bribes of support to let people on the channel.
He hasn't paid me for a thing in like a year.
Sure, you're bad at taking bribes.
Wait, am I supposed to be taking bribes?
I am.
Oh.
Ah. All right, so anyway. that has been our deck list. Tune in next time if you have been kind of watching these videos, but you're not super sure about some stuff about Value Vintage. We'll go over the basics and then some of the stuff that we've found over the past few months. We both got into it this year, and we'll just talk about like a little bit about how you can evaluate decks and how you can figure out when it's worth it to play a card that costs $4 and when you need to play a card that costs 25 cents.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. And then the episode after that, we might go over probably one of the channel mascot decks. Haven't decided which one, but maybe. We'll see.
Mascot.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. If there are cards that you would like to see built around, comment in the description. If there's a deck that you're curious about, let us know, and maybe we have a version of it that we can go over.
Just don't ask about Possibility Storm and Dranath Magistrate. I've asked Toad about it before.
I know. Dranath Magistrate costs like $12, doesn't it?
Does it? That was like $4.
I'm pretty sure it's expensive because of Commander.
Oh, it's $12. Never mind. It's not even playable.
Look at that. Just off the top of my head, knew how much Dranath Magistrate costs.
Let's see how much Possibility Storm is.
You gotta develop that card price spidey sense.
Possibility Storm's $2. That means it's playable.
Yeah, so you can have one Dranath Magistrate and 4 Possibility Storms.
Let's go. Foil copies are $10? Holy cow!
You're rich.
I have 2 of them.
You're living a life of luxury, if you can imagine.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like Toad said,
I hope you enjoyed the decks.
Like and comment. It really helps. Make sure to subscribe. Share this video with your friends. If you think Value Vintage is neat, we'd love to tell you about Value Vintage. We enjoy it. We have fun making these videos, like I said earlier. And if you like the thumbnail, leave a comment. So, yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate it, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye!